What's up, guys? This is Maoli, and you're listening to the Indigenous Setlist. I never knew them, but they somehow passed that on to me. I hated it. I wanted to come home and just live this simple life. I discovered their sound and their music. I was just blown away because I was like, man, they talk about how I live.
You can find me in a bar, on a stool, with some crown in my cocoa and ice cold brew. 'Cause it should have been me, counting all the stars from the bed of my truck. Dancing while you drink it 'cause you love it so much. Have mercy if you go out tonight and get drunk and lonely.
My artist name is Maoli. I come from Hawaii. The style of music that I do is very unique. It's a mixture of country and reggae. And if I was to really describe that music, it's pretty much the style or the culture of Hawaii, where Hawaii is really a melting pot of so many different cultures and styles of music too. So for me, it was kind of easy when we're able to blend both styles. Just because growing up, a lot of the older artists here, I call them like the OGs of this style of music, is what they would do is grab their ukuleles and whatever they heard on the radios, they would try to grab their instruments and just make it their own, whatever they hear, grab the songs and just make it their own. And it kind of trickled on to our generation where, I picked up on that and I started doing that as well. And when I did that, it kind of just did its thing where, the Pacific was used to it. The style that I play, it really describes their culture and who they really are, So for them, they really resonate with the music. But I think it's starting to grow on a lot of, other fans outside of the Pacific.
What is this feeling you give me? Straight to my head like the...
I come from a broken home, so like my father left at a very young age. My mother raised me. And that's kind of my story, where my father left when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And my mother raised me and ended up remarrying to another man who then raised me from that age. But he was pretty much a cowboy, farmer, rancher that, kind of taught us the traits of how to farm and cowboy and stuff like that. At a young age, I'll say like elementary, I started to play around with stuff. And it wasn't until intermediate, like 7th grade, the teacher, I joined this thing called the Polynesian music class. And that's where I learned how to play ukulele. And when I did that, there was a project that we had to do where at the end of the year, you would have to sing in front of the class for like your final grade and everything. So that's exactly what I did. And when I did it, I was so nervous and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't think I had talent. But then I ended up singing in front of the class and playing. And I remember my classmates just losing their minds when they heard me play. And I thought to myself, I was like, man, I think I might be pretty good at this stuff, And then it really was from that point on, I started to dig into music. It was a lot of Hawaiian music in the beginning. My grandmother was she's Hawaiian, and she would play me a lot of that music. But she was also like a really like oldies R&B. Like she was huge with Aaron Neville and Rod Stewart, Stevie Wonder, you know, uh, all these older ones. But then my my stepfather's side, grandpa, he introduced me to a little bit of country, and then I started dissecting what country was, and it was then I started getting to the George Jones and the George Straits, the Garth Brooks, stuff like that, right? And when I heard them sing, it was crazy because the things they would talk about was the lifestyle that I lived, but country music was not a thing in Hawaii back then, you know. So I was almost like, a little shy to listen to this type of music in school because everybody was on, rap or Biggie Smalls or some stuff, you know what I mean? So if I came with some George Jones, they'd be like, what the hell? But yeah, that's kind of where I got my influence. And then the reggae comes in, where, Bob Marley was a pretty big thing here in Hawaii too. And I think the reason why reggae was such a big thing is because it comes from Jamaica. And Jamaica and Hawaii are very similar in ways because we're both island people, So the style of music and the vibe of the music, it really resonated in Hawaii, which is that reggae sound. A lot more than country, you know. And I just, listening to Hawaiian music, getting a feel of the guitar and the ukulele, and actually the steel guitar. The steel guitar comes from Hawaii, before it ever was anything in country music, But it was those three genres: Hawaiian, reggae, and country. And that's what the whole, that's why I thought, man, like these guys they're talking about the islands, you know what I mean? Because they visit and they love the vibe of this place. But for myself, it's really who I am.
Rolling out here on this highway, there's a memory every mile. They always
I discovered their sound and their music. I was just blown away because I was like, man, they talk about how I live, And I love though Jimmy Buffett, Zach Brown. I'm a huge fan. Kenny Chesney, I'm a huge fan of their music. It's hard to say because I wouldn't say that I'm like traditionally, culturally, trained or that's the way I live. But I am around it all the time. It wasn't something that was taught to me because there is to me, our culture is not really, it's almost, it's sad to say this, but it's almost like a dying thing where like, it's very, it's hard to speak fluent Hawaiian. It's hard to practice the culture, all the stuff that they do, because right now, honestly, we're very, Americanized, if you want to call it, so it's hard to practice those things. And where I'm at in my life is, I just focused on music. Wherever that brought me, I just focused on that. I sang Hawaiian music because sometimes we had to in music class, but I was very intrigued with R&B and country and reggae, but I would have to do this. So there's a lot. I don't want to touch too much on this because I don't want to get corrected if they listen to this, because there's a lot of people here who practice the language, they practice the culture, the farming style, even the music, and I wouldn't say I'm the best at that, I just can say that I am Hawaiian, I'm native, and I was raised in this land, and that's kind of what it is, How the country comes into play is the original cowboys, right? Is the Mexicans, the vaqueros. So our kings called the Mexicans to help us, the vaqueros, to help us and to teach us how to cowboy, to kind of like herd these cattle because we don't know what to do. And it was from there, that's why we knew cowboying, Hawaiians knew cowboying before any Western civilization, you know what I mean? Like And that's kind of where when they would sing about cowboys and they sing about country, we knew about this, and that's why to me I could resonate, because I'm like, man, they're talking about the horses and the hard work and the that's how we grew up. And so that's where I believe I could resonate, because that's the way I grew up. It's not traditional Hawaiian, but it kind of is.
Country boy, we don't want no life in the city. High rise might be nice, might be pretty, but no, I keep my roots in the country. Country boy, where everything wild and free. Grew up where the grass is green. You know I keep my roots in the country.
What we were taught to growing up, because my family was real, like, hardworking, 9-to-5 people. They were like, no, you should not do music. Music is a dead-end job. You should never do that stuff, right? And in fact, my mother was that way. She's like, no, just go get yourself a 9-to-5 and that's it. That's how you should do it. It's more security and blah, 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 right? I went to New York. I stayed out there, and coming from the country and moving to New York, it was a crazy, like, movement for me, where I'm like, wow, this is nuts. New York's one of the busiest places in the world. It's very fast, and it just made me miss home so much. And I was doing construction out in New York, and after staying out there for like 6 months, I hated it. I wanted to come home and just live this simple life, right? And this was when I was about 20 years old, and gave that up, came home, and I started to get back into music again. And it wasn't until my uncle said, man, you should, as I asked him for jobs, I asked him for work because I came home from New York. I didn't have a job. So I asked him to work for my uncle. I asked my uncle to work, if I could work for him. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, I could give you a job and we can do this. You can make money, but you're so talented that I don't know why you're doing this. Why don't you pursue this, pursue music? And I'm just like, man, I think it's a dead end job. I don't know if you can do stuff like this. So he brought me to a friend's friend who actually recorded music, because I didn't know too much about studios, And he brought me to his studio and he said, hey, can you record my nephew? And I was like, man, okay, I can try this out, but it's not something I want to do. But at the time he was making me work, and I was doing landscaping at the time. And I was just like, well, he told me this. It's pretty funny. He told me this. It's like, either you can come work with me in the hot sun, or you can be in this AC and record music. Up to you. And I was like, all right, I'll take that. I'll take the AC. I'll take the, And the engineer at the time the producer at the time was like, man, I think you have something pretty great. And I didn't think of anything of it. I didn't know nothing about the business. And he said, hey, you know what? I'm recording all these songs. Your uncle trusts me. Let me get these songs to a distributor out here, because back then we were selling CDs. It wasn't selling any. There was no TuneCore or nothing. Right? Let me get this music to one of these distribution companies that was pretty big out here in Hawaii. And he brought it to them, and she liked it. And she said, when this album's done, bring it to me, and I would love to distribute it. So I was like, oh, whatever. Didn't think anything. Finished the album, and I was working. I went back to work at the same time. So I was working and doing the music, went back to work, let the album do his thing. Guy said he's going to take it, do whatever he wants with it. That album ended up smashing here in Hawaii. And it was at that moment I was like, oh shit, I think I got something. I think I do this, instead of doing this job where I'm just making pennies, So thank God my uncle gave me the option to either be in the sun or be in the AC.
The way that it feels when you lean in and kiss me, the way that you dance when you get kind of tipsy. I'm wrapped around your finger like this ring I'm wearing. That look in your eyes, girl, when you catch me staring. I don't even know what it is, but now that I found it, I can't imagine me living without this backboard view. An arm piece of ground, watching you watch the sun going down. That's what my world spins around.
You start gaining popularity, all of a sudden everybody's your family. But no, I found out that they were really my family. and I got to hang with them. I heard that one of my uncles passed away. What was uncles, which my grandpa's brother passed away, and they all invited me to the funeral. So I came, and how we in Hawaii, a lot of us they do this thing called celebrations of life, where somebody passed away, we bury them, and then after that there's a big party where the family gets together, we drink, we sing, and it wasn't until then when we were at that celebration of life, all my uncles came out and they brought the guitars, and this is like I'm like 20, 21 now. I never seen these guys in my life. I never had any musician musical background, nothing. And they start playing, and I'm just fucking blown away by them. I'm like, wow, these great singers, great guitar players, everybody plays music. And I was just like, damn, it's crazy how I never knew them, but they somehow passed that on to me. I've tried so many ways on how to make music. I look at it this way. It's a very when you're creating music, it has to just come. It's hard to explain because it's more of it's really a spiritual thing. You almost can call it like just a gift that I have, where it's like, yeah, I could start with the guitar. Sometimes it starts with a melody in my head. Sometimes I've written songs in 10 minutes, and I've written songs in 2 months. It just, to me, it's very spiritual, and you just have to let it flow through you. If you want to, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like, somehow God just downloads it into me is what I'm saying. And whether I'm with a guitar, whether I'm in a studio, just freestyling, it just comes. And that's where I don't want to stick to a style of creating music. I want to try new things. I'm always trying to do new things. I came from writing from a paper and writing on a paper, sorry. And then I went to just here, give me that beat and just press record. And I would just freestyle songs, and it all somehow worked, man. And it's just a part of my whole, what do you want to call it, like process of becoming the artist that I am today. Yeah, there's this song called Shoot Down.
Why you come and shoot down on a good vibe ready to flow?
That was is a reggae song, and that song came to me. Well, the producer sent me a track, and I liked it, and I just started flowing, man. I said to my engineer at the time, "Is like, listen, I don't know, I just love this beat," and I just told him to press record and see what happens. And I just listened to it, and had that melody come into my head, and I just started flowing. And that song was written in again, that's like another like 20-minute song, which is actually, sorry, that was only the verse and the chorus. After I finished it, I was like, man, I needed to have other artists on it. So I called this sorry, named Fiji, and another artist named Jamie Ferguson, who brought the saxophone on it. I'm not sure if you heard this song before, but yeah, they brought and did their thing onto it. But what I'm really trying to say is like that song came easy, but it was also kind of difficult because I didn't want to finish it. All I could come up with was the verse and the hook. And after that, I was just like, man, I think that's my calling. That's it. That's what I should do. And then somebody told me, man, I want Fiji on it and I want Jamie Ferguson on it. And I called them. They said, okay. They brought in the song, and that's how it was easily finished. But I didn't have a time where it was like, okay, I got stuck and I didn't want to, and that's, for me, that's why I just, when it comes to recording music and creating it, I never get in the way of it. I don't want to have this breakdown or this writer's block thing. Once it happens, I'm done. I just let it flow. It was a phase in my life, and also, I was always a big fan of country music. And what I loved about country music was the storytelling, right? That they had. I never heard that style of music or that style of writing anywhere in the world. Like where country music is they're very good at storytelling, and the steel and the melodies they use sometimes too. And it wasn't until, I've been doing reggae for a long time. And again, as an artist, I'm always trying to grow. So because of that, I want to try new things. And there's a lot of OG artists here who have done the country and the reggae thing. So I can't really take full credit for it. They are here. They didn't bring it to the world like I did, but they have done it. And with the country stuff, it's like I was at a phase of my life where I'm like, I want to try new things. And I started listening more to country at that time. And that's when I was just like, man, I love the way they sang this song, but it just needs the reggae undertone. You know what I mean? It's gonna be on a bit of reggae music. And we tried it, man. And it felt good to me. I didn't know what it was gonna do, but it really felt good to me. And then when I finished it, I was just, man, I put it out. And when I put it out, it really did well. So it was in case you didn't know.
In case you didn't know, baby, I'm crazy about you. I would be lying if I said that I could live my life without you. Even though
It was a cover song actually from Brett Young, and the way it was a slow, real ballad song. I was like, man, let me put my island reggae twist to it, and I just did that, and that's the version that I actually released that only on YouTube, right? And when it went on YouTube, it kind of blew up, and everybody enjoyed it, So I just went with it, and then I did another one, and they enjoyed that one, and I was like, man, I think I like it, they like it. Why not just keep doing it? It's a mixture. Yeah, sometimes I write. But I would say, going back to the question, 90% of the time, I'm thinking about how this song is going to do well live. Because I believe that music isn't really complete until it's been given to the fans and the fans find a place for it in their lives. And if they don't do that, it's incomplete. So when I'm thinking of that, a lot of times new fans are created when you're performing live. So yes, to go back to your question, I'm always thinking of that, where it's from the beginning, how is this guitar gonna make the audience feel when we do this live? How is the light gonna hit when I hit this vocal? All that stuff comes into play, and I do think of it as a whole, and that's one of the things I absolutely love to do, is grabbing something from an idea and just watching it being sung in front of thousands of people, and you having control of, like, man, what this does and what this does, and watching their reaction. It's one of the most rewarding things ever. And reggae is just a great vibe. That's why, in general. So, like, no matter who's playing, if it's real reggae music, you can't get mad. You can't get. That's the vibe right there. That's what I want to bring to the forefront. It's like, it's I can't, even when I explain this to a lot of people, it's like, it's very hard for me to explain how the music is gonna make you. You just have to come and experience it for yourself. You have to listen to it. You have to understand where it comes from, and it's like, and you'll just get it. And if you don't, maybe it's not for you. I'm always recording, man. So we're about to drop a new song. It's called "Some Days Are Just Better." I co-wrote this. We wrote this out in Nashville. Buddy Rob Snyder. We recorded it out there, and I really went for. I was telling him we should write a song about, my hometown, of like what, because I'm always hearing country music, and country music talks about Zach Brown, maybe talking about the Georgia Pines, or the Lone Star, or Nashville, something like Nashville, But I was like, man, there isn't no songs out there that are country that are talking about my place. So I really described, like, the Kona winds in that song, and the Yeti coolers, and because over here where I'm from, when the Kona winds are coming, there's a side of the mountain where you can go fish, and it's really nice. I'm talking about the Toyota trucks that we pull up with, and they're lifted, and we go and fish and drink and jam music with the bonfire and stuff like that down at these rocky places, and so I'm really excited for that song to come out. But it's really just a little piece of the MMO3 project. And MMO3 is really just an extension of MMO1 and 2, you know. Uh, and the MMO version of the first one was the songs where you hear shoot down and everything like that. So I just I wanted to continue the method of releasing music so much and frequently that I just wanted to come back to that, you know. And I did a time where I went from one to two, and then I stopped and I started doing albums again. But I was like, man, the effect that it has on people where I'm just constantly releasing and releasing and releasing, it seems to work with my fans. So that's what I am working on right now, where I do have a bunch of songs that I already written and recorded, and I'm releasing every 2 weeks, you know. Yeah, so it's a lot of songs. I'm releasing them every 2 weeks for the rest of the year. This year I didn't want to tour as much. I wanted to focus on music because as I'm pretty sure as you know, it's like it's hard to continue to tour. I toured off all the old music for the past 2 years now. I'm going on three. You know, it's like after a while you just need to have new music. So I really want to focus this year mostly on new music. And so because of that, I've been doing a lot more festivals. So we just dropped that we're doing Bottle Rock, we're doing Bourbon and Beyond, um, Reggae Rise Up, you know, and it's a big mixture, you know. So I'm excited for it.